Mary Berzins. Welcome to my garden. Today is July 14th, 2020. Let's see what's happening out there. There's nothing better than a field of sunflowers or a bed, whatever the case may be. Sunflowers are the height of the season in my mind and literally the height of the garden. I put them down in this lower row so that they could kind of stand up behind everything since I'm on a slope, and it's worked out really well. It's really fun to pull up and see them all down here. And as I suspected, I wish I had gone further with them in this bed. So can't go wrong with sunflowers. You can see how they're kind of leaning forward. And that's because I've got these beautiful trees above them that are creating a lot of shade. So they're reaching for the sun. This one especially. I thought it had fallen over, but it's actually completely supported. It's just trying to find the sun. And there's the blossom there. So they'll last for quite a bit longer because you have the main flower, but then if I cut this, there will be more flowers down below. On some of these you can already see where they're shooting up side flowers. And so they'll keep us happy for many weeks to come. And then I also have the cleome now in full bloom. Cleome is a beautiful flower and wonderful for pollinators and prolific reseeder. So it becomes one of my biggest weeds in the garden, but it's not a bad one to have. So we'll see those all over. But if you look close at this, every single one of these pods is full of, hundreds or even maybe thousands of tiny seeds. So you can see why they come up so easily everywhere. So they're easy seeds to share. And once you have one cleome plant, you'll pretty much always have cleome in your garden, which to me is not a bad thing. The larkspur is perennial, so this comes back every year, and that's beautiful. This year I ended up with white as well as purple, and I only planted purple, so not sure what happened there, but that's cool. And my lettuce is bolting, and I do let several lettuce plants bolt because it also will reseed beautifully. There's seeds growing here, a flower that will become seeds here, so then they kind of sprinkle down, and as long as I don't decide not to leave them, then I'll have lettuce. And I actually discovered that these are poppies in my wildflower mix, and there are lots of poppies. Turns out that's mainly what the mix looks like it was, or else that's just what grew, but that's okay, they're really pretty. I've learned that they can become invasive as well because there are tons of seeds in every flower as well. As you know, poppy seeds, tiny little black poppies. It's just the same thing as you would find on a bagel. So they're very beautiful. I've been trying to get my basil to grow, and it's kind of too shaded behind all these beet greens. But those little babies we looked at last time are still alive. Yep. But not much bigger. So I went ahead and reseeded that whole tray, and that's all grown. So I'm going to plant those this week where the onions were. So we're going to pull the onions out today, and then I'll have more room. And that's another goal that I've had for a lot of years, and that is to keep up with the cycle. When you pull one crop out, to have a new one ready to go in to maximize the production in your space. Here is one of those cucumbers I planted from seed, and it's really getting going. This is a weed that is sort of part of the morning glory family, but will take over. So whenever I see these, I pull them. Get that out. And so the cucumber is doing what I wanted it to do, and that is heading for the fence. But it's actually grown through the fence and I don't want that. So I'm going to try and just carefully thread it back to this side. I'll have a little bit on that side, but get it to come back over here. Those tendrils have attached to some grass out there. There, that should do it. And then I can just keep training it to grow along this fence. And that saves a lot of space. Anytime you can trellis, it's a good idea. So I got 2 buckets with me today. Oh, look, here's some lettuce bolting. So that'll be a bunch of seeds, and then my weeds will be lettuce, just like this one. And it's kind of fun to move through the garden and find edible weeds. So here's another weed that is edible. This is lamb's quarters. It's very nutritious. And I don't eat it a lot because I have so much else to keep up with, but I do feed it to my chickens. And I've been trying to remember to bring buckets to the garden, and my goal is to bring 2 buckets of weeds to the chickens every day, because that helps them and it helps the garden. So as long as I keep those near me, I can keep that filling up. The marigolds are just like, what, summertime? And they're so big. And that was a volunteer marigold. It just showed up and I moved it from the onion bed, if you recall. Here again are all those cleomes that just self-seed. And I definitely pull them out like weeds. So this, maybe we'll move up here, because this is where you can see now the sugar snap peas are pretty much done. They're falling over and dying. I keep thinking I'm just going to pull them out, and then I find some still growing. So I say, well, let's hang on for a minute. There's a couple. But they're almost done. And all the weeds got in here. I would come in here and weed, and then I'd accidentally pull out a pea. So then I thought, well, I'll stop weeding so I don't do that. But once I get these out, I'm going to clean up this fence line from all the weeds. In this bed, I never have put anything in. So you can really see what happens if you don't keep up with that cultivating. It gets way out of control, and then, now that they're starting to flower, they're going to set seed, and, that whole cycle keeps going. So the cultivating is what really prevents all this. But because I have so much, it's great for the chickens. This is actually sorrel. This is also edible. It's a weed, but it's got good flavor. And so the chickens really like that. So it doesn't bother me as much when I think about it like I'm growing chicken food. So I'm going to go ahead and pull my 2 buckets right from here for the chickens. So when I'm weeding, I'm always like deciding, should I leave this or not? And it's a cleome. And obviously I have plenty of cleome, but they are hard to pull. I might leave these right here on the edge for a while until I decide. And I'm thinking about seeding some like fall greens in this bed. And that should work out well because it's shaded right now in the heat of the summer. But these leaves on the trees will start to die off and get more sun here. It won't take me long to fill my 2 buckets with these weeds. Sometimes I think I need to get both hands going. I'm just using one. I can go faster if I used to. It's always like talking to myself in my head. I wonder if other gardeners do that. They must. Let's see. Yeah, so there's sorrel, there's lamb's quarters, so lots of nutritious greens for my birds. Once I get the most of the greens out, then what I'll do is take my stirrup hoe through here and just scuttle it up, loosen it up, and get it ready to take some plants. And I'm going to check with the Eco Village again. I was so happy with the plants I got from them that if they have some fall greens, I'll definitely get them from the Eco Village. So I've got my 2 buckets. It's a good goal to have. Kind of look how much I was able to clear out, and also get all that nutritious feed for the chickens. And in the process, I ended up pulling a few of these sugar snap pea plants, and that's okay. I know they're towards the end of their life, and while I was pulling, I noticed a few peas, and I either ate them or put them aside to eat later. Here's a couple right here. And I also found a couple dry pods, and I wanted to show you, but I don't know if they got shoved in the bucket because now I don't see them. Oh, here it is. So if you've got pods that get to be very dry, that's basically saving seeds. So if you save these and you're able to keep them stored properly, these could be your seeds for next year's snap pea plants. So letting the pods dry is okay. So as you know, I have a hard time pulling beautiful plants. And the problem ends up being you lose your pathways when you let the weed flowers grow. So I'm just kind of trampling them, but that's okay. And I'm bringing my wheelbarrow down here because I'm going to go ahead and pull the onions. You can see that the greens are laying down. Obviously, they're not doing much for the bulb, and I'm going to go ahead and peel off the outer layer like we did with the garlic when we visited Kat, and that'll keep a lot of that dirt out of my house, and it makes them look very beautiful. And then just lay them in here. So I guess for now I'll just pull them, and later I'll do that peeling back, unless it's super easy like that. Kind of hard not to want to do that right away. But seems like every year I miss 1 or 2, and then they'll grow the next year, like I did with garlic last time. So this year I'm going to try and get in here with a potato fork and just rake through it, make sure I didn't lose any, because if those tops die back, oh, I try not to walk on the bed, then it's easy to miss them. And also when you're harvesting anything, you want to be gentle with it. So if I tossed these in, you'd get bruises and then they don't keep as well. So the idea is that I can dry these down and they'll last for quite a while. Definitely I'll eat them before they go bad. So I like it. I like having produce hanging in my stairwell in the house. I think it's pretty. The other thing that's great is that you can use these tops for green onions. I mean, that's what they are. So, got tons of green onions also. And so, that's the onion bed, harvested into the wheelbarrow. And you can see that I have a wheelbarrow full of onions and green onions. So the tops are green onions. And so you can use those as long as they're fresh. Maybe cut some off and put them in the fridge and then dry down the onions. Like I said, I'm going to peel the top layers of skin off before I tie them up and put them in the house to dry. And then just like that, I've got a new bed ready to plant for fall.
We believe that food and community go hand in hand. Yet family farms are slowly disappearing from this country, taking with them a piece of community. We are here to counteract that trend. Since 1892, the Slusher family has farmed the land along Rush Fork Creek in Floyd County, where Fields Edge Farm operates today. At Fields Edge, we dream of a world where the phrase, local food, means food grown by your friends, your neighbors, and in your own backyard. We dream of bringing back the family farm, or at least the family garden, so neighbors and friends can share seed, produce, stories, and food with each other and keep a piece of community alive. We know we aren't the only ones with this dream. Join us for the Fields Ed workshops and have a working farm as your classroom to learn to successfully grow your own produce and develop the skills to take your garden as far as you can dream.
So I always was told that the broccoli would do side shoots, and I've never had such a great year as this year with broccoli. And it's true, once you harvest that middle flower, you'll get shoots after shoots, just like you will with any plant. When you cut down the flower, then more come out on the sides. And so I have harvested several times, enough for, a couple meals off of the side shoots. So once you harvest that main head of broccoli, don't pull those plants because you'll get more. And the kale is just an awesome producer. You cut it and it comes again. And so I just keep cutting these main leaves off and bring them in the house. And each week I'll harvest a bag full. And it appears to me that these plants are going to provide for me all season. And that was just 6 kale plants. So I might get some fresh ones for fall, and I know that they will overwinter. So I'll probably put in 6 more, maybe up in this bed that we just cleared out. And my chard is huge and beautiful, and I really should have been using it. It's just I have so much going on that I haven't harvested at all. So that is definitely on my list. I pulled out all the cabbage and made sauerkraut. We also made egg rolls with the cabbage and coleslaw. So that provided many delicious meals for us. And you can see here that the potatoes are laying down. And so you know that that is basically the end of their growth. And you can start to harvest them at this point. So I did harvest one just to check on it, and it didn't actually have a whole lot in there. So I don't know how I did, but I'm going to dig one up right now so we can see. And so I'm just going to find the one that looks the most dead. Well, this looks pretty dead. You can see it's dead. And the first thing I usually do is just pull on the plant and no potatoes. And then just gently uncover that area. There's one. Oh, that's the plant next to it. It's a little one. There's one. Potatoes are also one of those that are easy to miss, and I end up with a lot of volunteer potatoes. There's a good one. So once I dig all of this out, I'll rake through it really well to make sure I didn't miss anything. It's a pretty nice looking potato. So there may be more in there, but they're actually okay. The only reason I don't like to leave them, that soil is dry. After having so much rain, we've gone straight into no rain. So it's just that kind of year. Now, if you haven't had potatoes fresh from the dirt, you have got to try it. The texture is different. It's just amazing. Like most things from the garden, all things from the garden. So, set these right here. Let's see what else we got. We've got lots of dill, and hoping that the cucumbers catch up, because that is part of my pickling process, is using those dill heads. Watch this if you come around here. And here I have a jalapeno hidden in this forest of good weeds. Another one back there. And I have already harvested from the green beans 2 times, enough for several meals. And I think I'm going to do blanching and freezing this week on the green beans. But it's definitely a job you want to do every couple days, because I was just out here 2 evenings ago and harvesting, and then these are already ready to go. So I usually bring my scissors over here and I'll snip them just below the stem. That way I can wash them and they're ready. I don't have to do any more prep on them before I freeze them. See, when they're little like this, then I know I'll come back and get that the next day. There's a pest right there. Oh, they're fast. There's a cucumber beetle, I believe. So it is hard on your back because these bush beans are low, so that's sort of an argument for pole beans, which I'm going to put pole beans in this week. I bought a packet of seeds, and those are much nicer on your back because usually if they climb your poles, you can be standing up. But if I got a milk crate out here, I could sit. That would probably help. But you just kind of have to pull the plant back and find the good ones ready to harvest. Some of them you miss, like this one I must have missed last time. It's a little larger than I want them to be. Although some people might prefer them to get that large. So I've got that whole row all the way down to there to harvest in beans. And then all the zucchini plants are looking so good. And in between them, as I suspected, I overcrowded my space, even though I was trying not to. And there's a zinnia here, and it's hidden by the giant zucchinis. And that's a bean I forgot I dropped the other day. So yeah, my flowers hopefully will grow taller and overcome all this shade that they're in right now. We'll see. Oh, here's one. I think it'll be okay. That's a zinnia. So you see they end up getting to be about 3 feet tall. So my hope, there's even getting ready to flower. And as they flower, they keep growing taller. So that'll be very pretty in a few weeks. That's a cosmos, also will get tall, starting to come up above the shade of the other plants. More zinnia here. And I say it all the time, but it's just such an important thing to remember that the more you harvest, the more you get, because it's going to keep flowering to try and make seed. Every time I pull a bean, I feel like it's encouraging it to make more. And then the zucchinis are a very interesting variety I planted this year. I'll have to look up the name, I forget right now. But they aren't getting fat. Like sometimes if you leave a zucchini too long, if you've grown zucchini, you know they turn into like giant baseball bats. These are staying long and skinny, even when I leave them out here, which means they don't get so, like those seeds don't get so big in there. They're still really tasty. So it seems kind of forgiving for someone who might not get out in the garden every day. So. But zucchinis are a staple for us. We eat them with lots of things, and we also bake with them. Grating them up and putting them into sweet bread is very yummy. And then back here are the jalapenos that I grew from seed, and actually shared that whole process on this show. But look, they're going to make it. They're actually doing pretty well. So they definitely like the heat of summer. So they'll produce later, like even into fall. And behind them, the cosmos are starting to come up. So we'll have some beautiful flowers here as well pretty soon. And my plan for these cucumbers to climb the hog wire is working out beautifully. Got lots of flea beetles. Tomatoes continue to get very tall, and I'm just keeping my twine right here on the ground. It's easy to cut off, and it's actually a pretty good product. And so when I need to tie them up, I can do it right on the spot. With these cages, I'm just making sure to keep them inside. And I do have some tomatoes. There's a couple right here. And there's more flowering up top. So it looks to be a good tomato year. And this is the ground cover, that sun hemp. That is so cool. But once they start to flower, then I'll just cut them all down and turn them in. And so I could plant this in fall with something. And then back here I had the cucumber, and I've been tying this up too, up to this post to train it up. And a couple more tomatoes here that I'm tying to the stake. And the pumpkins are looking good. So this is my attempt at confusing the deer. And also, I think it's pretty. But, my fence is pretty low here. And I am nervous that they're going to jump it. So I've heard that if there's something beyond the fence just a bit, they get confused. So I hung this. It's kind of drooping. It's awfully heavy. It needs like something right here maybe. But it blows in the wind and I think it's decorative. So I'm going to come around and make some more in other spots that feel vulnerable.